Hello, everybody. Welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I am Tim.
I'm Willie.
Willie, how's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. Just living life, you know. We're mid-February now, so we are... I mean, it's been a pretty tame winter so far, all in all, I would say. Although tonight... got
Except
a little
for
bit...
me. I'm knocking shit over behind me.
Oh, it's okay.
What was that? Was it important?
No. Tonight was icy, though.
A little icy here.
Yep. You were saying it was pretty gnarly. But pretty tame winter overall. But you always get the winter blues around this time where you're like, can we just move on?
Well, we just got that we got that like Michigan tease of spring.
Yeah.
And I was getting all excited because like spring training is starting this week for baseball down in Florida. I'm like, here we go. Spring's right around the corner.
Yep.
And then we get hit with this.
Yeah. It has been a pretty breezy winter, though. In terms of, like, it hasn't been that rough.
Right.
So I guess I shouldn't be too upset. I mean, I think I've only busted out the snowblower, like, once.
We got hit with that one big, like, belt.
That was the one that Yep. Which is funny because they didn't claim it was going to be that bad, and then, like, the storm before that, they said was going to be, like, a generational storm, and it wound up being, like, 1.5 inches. So I always love that. What have you been up to, man?
So... You prompted me this. So earlier in the day, you sent in the group message that we were in, you sent a video that is for a professional wrestler in Impact Wrestling, who I'm aware of his work. And he has one of the catchiest entrances.
Joe Hendry.
His name is Joe Henry. And I'm not going to sing the song because...
No, you can seek it out if you wish.
It's I believe in Joe Henry. I don't even want to say it because now it's stuck in my head.
Over. Yeah.
It is what they call an earworm, right?
It is. Now, his gimmick is that he's like a Tony Robbins-esque like self-help guy. Isn't that what his thing is?
A little bit. He's more just like... I think he's more just like kind of like a very viral, like very happy, like
okay.
And the crowd gets very into his music.
I'd imagine so.
Yes,
yeah.
But I can't listen to it because it gets stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have for the last week or two, I have had 3 things like stuck in my head.
Yes,
I'm very tired right now, and when I get tired, I get things like songs stuck in my head, and they just play over and over as I'm going to sleep.
Is it the full song or just bits?
It's only the freaking chorus, which is the worst.
That sucks, dude.
So, actually, I've had both, but I've been on an emo kick lately.
See, I like this. This is, and you brought this up just before we started recording, so let's save it for the show because I feel like this is, you know, you got a lot going on in life right now, Tim.
Yeah.
You got a little one on the way.
Yeah.
You're probably trying to mentally prep as much as you can for that. And I'm sure, you're probably not having the best sleep in the world. Lots of stress, lots of anxieties, but lots of excitement, I'm sure.
Right.
As well. But I wanted to say that this emo thing makes sense to me because I feel like when you're going through those times in your life where you are, there's a lot going on and you're feeling very overwhelmed maybe by certain aspects of life that I feel like you get into weird shit. I'm not saying emo music is weird. I'm just saying like you get into stuff that's unusual for you.
I was gonna say it's weird for me, and it's not like I dislike a lot of these bands. It's just like I was never a big emo guy. Like I like a lot of pop rock, but I've always been more drawn to like 90s alternative pop rock. Like,
right.
Yeah. So like some of these bands I was not like super into them when they were around because a lot of these bands were like big when I was in college. And So
what are we talking about here? What kind of bands are we?
So, there's it's basically just on my YouTube Music. Like now, it's basically just if I go on there, it's the 2 bands that are stuck in my head right now are Fall Out Boy and Paramore, and it's because they both have new music out, and I really like both of their the new Paramore album is really good. I'm not like a big Paramore fan, but
I really liked that first album.
So was big. That's the one with Misery Business on it, right? So that song gets stuck in my head.
Yeah, it was big.
Their new single gets stuck in my head. It goes on a loop. But the freaking Fall Out Boy, the new Fall Out Boy song is, I think it's called like Love from the Other Side of the Apocalypse.
Okay.
And it's a Fall Out Boy song. It sounds exactly like 90% of the other Fall Out Boy songs. But it's so and I think you're right. I think it's because I'm tired too. Like it just gets lodged in there.
Like ingrains.
and I hear it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta listen to it too. Like,
I liked both of those bands,
but I've always
back when they were.
Yeah, I've always liked AFI. I've got a lot of AFI on there. Not so much like I've never been a huge Dashboard guy anyway, but like that'll pop up. Dashboard. Who's the other one? Say Anything. Will pop up every once in a while. I always listen to them.
You ever listen to any My Chemical Romance?
MCR. So that's another one. So MCR is weird for me because like I'm not a huge fan, but I like really love their singles. Like
the singles are
Helena
really good.
and what's the other one? The Welcome to the Black Parade, of course. But there's one other one I'm thinking of too.
Have you listened to the album before?
Helena, probably not all the way through. Like I said, I'm more of like with them. It's like if it pops up.
Okay.
Depending on the song, I'll definitely.
You might actually like the first album because it's a little bit more like. There's some like thrashy stuff in there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little like more punk, like punk than So I might like it.
Were you a big emo guy? No,
yeah. Like I wasn't.
I read an article. It seems to be having a moment now. It seems to be having, which kind of makes sense.
Well, the emo kids are getting to that age where it's nostalgic now.
Well, emo kids are getting to that age, and I think like it's kind of a music that I could see a lot of Gen Z gravitating to.
Sure.
As well. So,
why not?
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't an emo guy, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't present myself with the whatever the emo look was. You know what I mean? But I listened to that music, lots of screamo and emo stuff.
Okay,
lots of it. I went to like 4,000 shows back then.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I went to all the concerts. Fall Out Boy, I've seen twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. I'd never seen Paramore. That's one I never saw.
Yeah.
But I've seen My Chemical Romance. I've seen The Used. I've seen, oh man.
Let me start naming.
Rise Against.
Have you ever seen Good Charlotte or anything? Emo?
I have seen Good Charlotte.
You have seen Good Charlotte?
They're like pop.
Oh, Death Cab. Yeah.
I've never seen Death Cab. Death Cab's like traditional emo, like not hard emo, like traditional. Yeah. I like Death Cab though. Gosh, who else?
Senses Fail.
Seen Senses Fail.
Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Seen them. Seen them.
Jimmy Eat World.
I've not seen Jimmy Eat World. There's one I haven't seen.
Saves the Day.
No, I have seen Jimmy Eat World.
Have you seen Jimmy Eat World?
I have.
Okay.
I take it back. They played with My Chemical Romance, I think, the time I saw.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. What was the other one you said?
Saves the Day.
Seen them.
Get Up Kids.
I don't think so.
Taking Back Sunday. Did you say them? Okay.
Atreyu. I've seen Atreyu.
There's one other one I was thinking of, and I can't remember. They've got like a really long name, and I'm blanking on it right now.
I've seen Silverstein like 4,000.
Silverstein
4,000 times.
Oh my god!
I've seen that band like 6 times. I've met the singer like 3. Hawthorne Heights.
Hawthorne Heights. Yeah.
Remember Hawthorne Heights? Funeral for a Friend.
That was what I was
Love
thinking of.
Funeral for a Friend. That band is like really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot.
I just
of
made
those bands.
I'm not gonna. I'll explain the joke to you off air because I'm not gonna explain
Panic at the
Disco.
Disco.
I just made a funeral for a friend joke to our buddy Danny the other night. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
It's really not that good.
The band or the Elton John song?
No, the band. It was like, and it ties into the joke I was making.
Okay.
It was CM Punk related. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those bands. I used to go to a ton of those shows. It was a good time. Yep. Anyway, so that was fun. I had to. That felt like it was gonna be a fun conversation, and I want to make sure our listeners could be a part of it. So
I'm not a big 30 Seconds to Mars. You can't get me into 30 Seconds to Mars.
I have not seen 30 Seconds to Mars. I can tell you that. I have not seen them. Seosin, saw them. God, I saw a lot of those bands.
Wikipedia's got Bring Me the Horizon.
Seen them.
Oh, I'm thinking of Vertical Horizon. Sorry, Bring Me the Horizon is I know. Bring Me the Horizon. Sorry, I got confused.
What song is Vertical Horizon? I know. Like,
she's everything you want.
Never seen them. Avenged Sevenfold. They aren't screamo or emo, but I've seen them. They're from that era, though.
And you will know us by the Trail of Dead.
Did not see them.
Now we're just listing out Alkaline Trio.
I've seen Alkaline Trio.
Did we name All American Rejects? I can't remember.
I have seen them. Those ones are. That's kind of a different beast, I feel like. Yeah, I saw a lot of those bands. You know, there's only one band left on my. When I say my bucket list,
this is a good Tiny Terror idea.
Actually, I tell you what, there's 2 bands. And when I say bucket list, I mean these are bands that like I can still see. Like there are people that I wish I could have seen before they passed or they stopped playing. Like somehow I never saw Tom Petty. And Tom Petty's one of my favorite, all-time favorite. And like it's weird because the guy played like every year in Detroit. And somehow I managed to miss it every time. I don't know. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
But
I was that way. Like I had is that what they refer to as FOMO when like
yeah
I when I was watching that Elton John his final concert at Dodger Stadium I was like fuck, he was in Detroit, like I would have loved that. Yeah. I
know you always wanted to see the Prince, which didn't work out.
Prince,
yeah, that's a bummer. Anyway,
Prince, not the Prince, not Prince Harry,
not Prince Harry. Or...
No, I've seen enough of that guy lately.
He's been around a lot. Nikki's reading his book right now.
Ugh, get over yourself, my God.
I know. For somebody who says he doesn't want the spotlight on him very much. Anyway, but no.
This is what the people listen to us for is
hot takes on
emo bands, just listing off emo bands, seeing if we see them live, or just dunking out. Let's call it Prince Harry.
No, Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
That's always been one I've wanted to see.
I forgot. We're going back.
No,
to this.
bands
you want to see? Yeah, Foo Fighters played with Weezer on a tour one time, and it was like the Foozer tour is what they were calling it. So,
you've heard about the Slipknot Weezer tour, right?
That's right. Oh no, that like happened, right?
It didn't happen.
It was going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, they shot a video, didn't they? Like not like a.
It was like Rivers' idea, I think. The whole thing. How sick would that have been? Anyway, Foo Fighters and
Rivers grew up like I get like he's probably a big Slipknot guy. Rivers was like a metalhead as a kid. Yeah, he was a big metalhead.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age.
Okay.
2 bands I have never seen that I want to see.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, that's definitely my 2.
Speaking of emo,
ooh,
I know for a fact one of the hosts of the Midwest Game Nerds likes a couple of the bands that we have named off.
Oh yeah, we bonded over our mutual love of Funeral for a Friend. I know that.
Yes, good.
Yes.
Which host?
John.
John. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think Alex. I don't want to put words in Alex's mouth.
I know Alex likes Vertical Horizon.
He does.
So,
he doesn't like Bring Me the Horizon. He likes Vertical
Horizon.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So, what were they talking about this week? I know they're talking, of course, about Metroid Prime Remastered. Alex texted me about that. And he says they have a casual mode for it because it's insanely hard for me.
That
and I go,
right.
I just texted him back. I go, I'm no casual. And then I realized after I texted him back, like my tone doesn't come across. It was one of those texts I said that like my tone doesn't come across.
He knows. I think he knows.
And they have been keeping up pretty much because they do every other week they record, but they've been keeping up with The Last of Us, which I am an episode behind on. But I always like to point our listeners, if you want to hear some people who know their stuff talk about The Last of Us, check them out because I don't think
you still liking the show?
Quite a bit. I'm an episode behind.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's funny. I'm very funny in that I bitch about I gotta bring weekly releases back, and then I don't keep up with them weekly. I just wait for it to build up, and I like knock out 2 or 3 at a time.
Then you marathon them.
Yes, I need them to go. I need to go to the Andor, like the original Andor thing, where they release 3 at a time. Just release like 2 or 3 at a time. I'll knock it out there.
I like mini binges. I don't like.
Yeah, I do the whole thing. I do like the show quite a bit. It's one of those things. I don't know how you are. If you're similar to me, I'll probably wait to form an opinion on the whole thing, like when the whole thing is out.
Yeah,
is the thing. Like I can go episode by episode. I don't enjoy doing that though. I'm not a big review episode by episode guy. I've always been I like to talk about the seasons as a whole when I do this thing. When I talk about stuff like that. So. I don't know, but yeah, it's very good, and
good.
I think it will. I doubt it will, because part of me is hey, can we let's pump the brakes on the hyperbole? And this is not just The Last of Us. This is in general.
Oh yes,
both sides of things, worse or bad. Hey, yeah, as of right now, as far as I can tell, this is the best video game thing ever. But can we wait until the whole thing is out? Because one of the last 5 episodes are just the worst shit you've ever seen in your life.
True.
So maybe it won't be, but I'm guessing it won't be. It will probably be very good. So
what I'm excited to see, not excited to see, just curious to see, is if my understanding is that they're adapting the first game with this season, and the second game with the second season. And the second game was about as divisive as anything that's ever. Probably the most divisive thing I saw online since like The Last Jedi, where it was just like
people
icky.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's any sort of backlash when they get to that point on the show. I don't know. We'll see. We're a ways off from that, but I think it's safe to say there'll wind up being a second season from all the buzz that I'm hearing.
Yeah, the thing is it's a hit. So
yeah. Anyway, hey, if you have any favorite emo or screamo bands that you think that Tim should be listening to, feel free to let us know. You can email us horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @HMYearbook. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. But let us know. Let Tim know what his playlist should be. His emo playlist should include. I'm sure there's something we're missing.
I gotta want to know. Whoa.
Yeah.
Now to see that song stuck in my head. You got the Joe Henry song stuck in my head.
Because that's a good song. Oh, man. Now I'm stuck in my head.
Yeah, help me put together an emo playlist.
I had a big crush on Haley Williams.
I mean.
Yeah, big time. Anyway, maybe I still do, actually. You know? I don't know. Why not? Why can't I still have a crush on Haley Williams?
It's okay to have crushes.
All right, man. Well,
unless it's the Alicia Silverstone movie. Was that Crush?
Crush?
Was it Alicia Silverstone?
I believe
Crush?
that is one of the Alicia Silverstone movies. Yes. Yes, I believe so. Oh my.
Was Crush the one with Carrie Ellis too?
Yes.
Yeah, that is kind of a
skeevy. There was a lot of those during that. It's like
I don't think any of the movies we're talking about tonight are skeevy, though, are they?
No, I don't think skeevy would be a descriptor for anything this guy's done.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about him. He's a bit divisive, though.
Absolutely.
I would say.
Hell of a career so far in terms of just, like, all over the map.
He's a director I find very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love everything he's ever done. I tend to watch anything he puts out, though. Including Will Smith movies with Jaden.
Seen it.
In the theater.
In the theater. I took a knee.
We're not going to be talking about that one.
No. After Earth, by the way, is the name of that movie.
Yeah, here's what
For those that don't know.
Here's what Willie and I did.
You did.
We wanted to talk. Well, I've been sitting. Knock at the Cabin just came out.
Yes.
And I probably won't be able to get to see it until it comes out on streaming or wherever it's. But anyway, it got me thinking about, like, I've seen all of his movies except for one, and I did not watch it beforehand.
Lady in the Water, right?
I still have not seen Lady in the Water.
I've never seen it.
That came during, like, and we'll talk a little bit about it, I think, when we talk about one of these movies. That came during, like, M. Night exhaustion at that point.
Yes.
He was, people were very, very sick of him, including me.
There are 3 I've not seen.
So which ones have you not seen?
I've not seen Lady in the Water.
Okay.
Because of the aforementioned exhaustion.
Right.
I've not seen Last Airbender because I don't have any sort of, like, Last Airbender.
Theater too.
I don't know the show. I don't know. It just didn't. There was no reason for me to go see it.
Right.
And I didn't see this new Old.
Yeah, right.
Purely because I just haven't seen it.
That just came out too, like last year.
Not like it's
So what I did was I took his top 8 because 8's a nice even number, and it also helped us get rid of After Earth and The Last Airbender, which are not horror movies, and neither are a couple of these, but it's mostly genre stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think most of his stuff is genre adjacent, at least.
So then, his top 8, Old fell at number 8, and then you hadn't seen it, and then at number 9 was Lady in the Water. I had not seen that, and I said, well, I don't think either one of us wants to watch M. Night Shyamalan's 8th or 9th best movie right now, just to get prepared, especially when we've seen his 10th best movie, according to IMDb scores, The Happening. So
we just went for it.
We just bumped The Happening up to the number 8 spot. So that's why you will not hear us talk about, do you have any, so you have not seen, which one have you seen of those? Just After Earth, right? Do you have anything to say about After Earth before we move on?
No.
You're just going to take a knee on this one?
I'm going to take a knee.
Yeah.
No, there's I remember nothing of the film. I remember Take a Knee being a thing.
Take a Knee, it was a thing with, like, our immediate group, because that movie nobody else saw.
Yeah. I remember I had an apple juice in the theater when I watched it. It was good apple juice.
Yeah. We took a picture taking a knee out next to the poster, I think, too.
I remember that. There's an alien in the movie at
We
one point.
recorded an episode. If anybody is like really motivated to hear our thoughts on After Earth, you could hear them if you just search. I would imagine, probably Google search it at this point.
Yeah, that's Midwest, like the first year of the podcast.
Midwest Film
Nerds
After Earth, and just see what happens.
It's got to be out there somewhere.
Alex will probably find it. He'll
probably throw it up in the feed.
Yeah, he'll at least throw it on the Discord or. So yeah, I have seen everything except for Lady in the Water, like I mentioned.
Yeah,
I like Old, but that is a very divisive movie as well.
Yeah,
I think it's best if you don't have high expectations for that and you kind of treat it kind of like a schlocky Twilight Zone type movie, which sometimes is best if you treat all of his movies that way. And, yeah, but yeah, it worked well enough for me. I had a lot of fun with it. But
what's the reception on Knock at the Cabin so far?
I think
good, right?
Oh man! So I've read the book, Cabin at the End of the World,
yeah.
and I like the book,
title.
but then I did not realize that book is also kind of decisive, and I kind of reread it. I just kind of flipped through it last week at some point, just to kind of refresh my memory on it because I was curious about it.
Yeah,
and I think I know why, but I will not talk about it.
Okay.
What's sometimes scary about M. Night Shyamalan movies is the same thing that's kind of used for horror in we're just knocking stuff over behind us all the time. But it's used for horror in Cabin at the End of the World, which is like it's kind of the Red State thing too. It's like,
oh yeah,
what if what these people believe is true?
Yeah,
like that's what's scary.
Yeah,
and the book goes it never gives you an answer that way.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, especially when you're dealing with kind of religious zealots.
Yeah, it can be unsatisfying, I think, for some people.
And I think
that's the other one I always think of with those is Frailty.
Exactly.
That's another one that I always think of.
And some people, and understandably so, some people don't like that because, yeah, it's not a typical worldview, and yeah, it shouldn't be. But like, it's also like when you're making a movie trying to scare people, you go like, what if they are like? What if it's true? And then you go, holy shit! Like that would be awful. Like that was that's what's scary about.
That's scarier than just them being wackos, almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Knock at the Cabin is 68%. So for him, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. I think that would qualify as fresh, right? So so Old, yeah, After Earth, Last Airbender. The thing with After Earth and Last Airbender is they do not feel like his movies at all to me. They feel
those feel like gun for hire movies.
Gun for hire movies, yeah. There is nothing like there are none of his trademarks. They do not feel like his movies at all. So that will narrow it down. And Lady in the Water, I want to watch, but it's also one of those things like I Googled it and it's like $4 on Prime Video. I'm like, it'll pop up somewhere at one of the streaming services.
Yeah, how is it not on Tubi?
I don't know. You know what it is? The streaming services, anytime like a sequel in a franchise comes out, or even like a Spielberg movie, like
they pull it all off.
If someone doesn't have the rights to it, like one of the streaming services right away, they'll pull it all off and rent it because people like me will search around and go, I'll spend the $4. But
have you seen, by the way, real quick before we move into this, have you seen some of this kind of online discourse in film journalism about the fact that like now streamers, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, are like pulling their own original programming off of their services, and so there's literally no way to watch certain things now.
Yeah.
And so now people are like, oh, how do we watch stuff? Yeah. And I'm like, boy, I guess we're all missing physical media, aren't we?
Well, in like a lot of those do not give you the option. Like those, like Disney for a lot of, or like HBO Max, like they have like, I don't think Peacemaker's on like stuff. And I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think they did put like Westworld on there, but like the Nevers, the Joss Whedon show, they aired the first 6 episodes and then they sold the rest to I think Roku or Tubi.
Okay.
And like they're just the next 6 episodes are just airing on there now. Like, yeah, it's the Wild West.
It's crazy.
I have no idea what's
because they're pulling Arrested Development.
The Netflix show, but that 4th season never came out on DVD or anything, right?
So you will not be able to watch it.
It's vanished. It's out in the ether. Like
that's weird.
See if torrents
Maybe those will pick up again. Anyway, I hate to act like I'm some sort of prepper.
Yeah.
With all my physical copies of movies that I have stored in this house, but I'm like, told you so. I knew this day would come.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We talked about this before. The other thing is, like, most people don't watch old movies all the time. Like, once it's a couple years old, like...
They move on.
Like,
where's this stuff going to go?
Yeah. So...
Anyway, sorry.
We've got 8 movies now.
Let's do it.
Let's start with... We're going to do the 1 versus 8. And what we do here is we rank them by IMDb score. I'm going to give the plot, a quick IMDb synopsis, a couple of the stars, and then we'll make our picks. So that's pretty much how it goes. The number 1 seed at an 8.2 is The Sixth Sense, a frightened, withdrawn Philadelphia boy who communicates with spirits seeks the help of a disheartened child psychologist. Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, Toni Collette.
Yes.
And then that is going up against the number 8 seed, which is The Happening, with a 5.0 on IMDb, which is higher than I expected.
The Happening is, we've always talked about these movies where, like, you go back to them weirdly, like frequently.
Yeah.
We both have this on that list, right? Where, like, we've watched it, like...
It's been a bit, but yes.
Yeah, right?
This is we'll talk about it here in a second. With a 5.0, a science teacher, his wife, and a young girl struggle to survive a plague that causes those infected to commit suicide. Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's plants that are killing people.
The plants are pissed.
Mark Wahlberg, Zooey Deschanel, and John Leguizamo. An amazing cast. Willie, this is quite the matchup here. 2 very different movies.
Yeah, I'd say.
Talk about who you got, and let's.
Oh God, would I love to move The Happening?
Picks.
Would I love to move The Happening along? I'm not going to. It's not as The Sixth Sense is a better movie than The Happening, but instead of touting The Sixth Sense right now, I'm gonna I want to spend a little time because The Happening is not lasting on my bracket.
Okay,
I want to spend a little time on this. There is something about The Happening that kind of works, and the reason, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you what that is because I don't actually know, but
That's kind of why it works, though.
Keep going back to that movie.
Yeah,
like every couple of years, I'll be like, I'm gonna watch The Happening. And I don't know why, but I do it, and I go, it's not very good.
Right.
But I'm also, like, enthralled the whole time.
It's a good drunk movie.
It's a great drunk movie.
Yeah.
It'd be a good party movie, actually.
Yep.
Weirdly enough, it shouldn't be, given the subject matter. It should not be a good party movie, but it is. It's so schlocky.
It's just, and it's very silly, and I can't, like...
The performances are all kind of shitty.
So, here's the thing. You know me, I'm not a Zooey Deschanel fan. So I think these 2 leads are not good actors.
Well, they have
and they have zero chemistry. And
but I've
seen them good in other.
I was going to say, let's be fair.
Yeah,
they've been good in other stuff, even if you don't like either one of them.
Yeah,
they've both been good in other stuff.
And what's weird is M. Night is usually pretty good with actors. Like, he's gotten good performances out of Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis, and like you have to work.
Those 2 guys can be
yes,
yeah.
Sometimes you have to work to get performances out of those. So I'm with you. Like, you don't know what the movie's doing because, like, is it trying to be funny? And sometimes it is trying to be funny, and it's funny. And sometimes you're like, this is...
It's weird. It's just a weird... It's a weird movie. It's a weird movie, but, like, that's why I like... I'm not going to say I like it. That's why I enjoy, like, going back to it every once in a while, because I'm like, how does this exist? Like, I don't know. I remember it was marketed as, like... This is M. Night in a rated R movie. Like, he's finally going to get to cut loose. That was the marketing. It was like, oh, you thought M. Night was nasty before. He no holds barred this time. And it's really not all that. Like, there's a couple, like, gnarly scenes, but, like, it's really not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird movie. But it's Sixth Sense. That one moves on for me. I'll talk about it later.
I'm going to do the monologue real quick. I don't know if I should do a marquee.
Is this the when he's in the classroom?
No, this is, if we're going to die, I want to tell you something. I want you to know something. I was in a pharmacy a while ago. There's a really good-looking pharmacist behind the counter. Really good-looking. I went up and asked her where the cough syrup was. I didn't even have a cough. I almost bought it. I'm talking about a completely superfluous bottle of cough syrup, which costs like $6. That's his line, because that's after she says she has tiramisu. It's like, this is a very weird movie. Okay.
It's bizarre.
Then the one you're talking about, I can't remember. But then there's the old lady who goes, why you eyeing my lemon drink?
And he's like, I'm not. Like, doesn't he get all like, oh,
no, what? No. He goes, what? No.
It's so weird.
I was kind of refreshing my memory on a lot of these movies today, and I just got lost in clips of The Happening. And one of them was the cough syrup clip. The other one, there's also a part where they go, we've got to outrun the wind.
It's so sweet.
Than the wind.
There's a wind chase scene.
So
in the film.
Right. Here's the thing: The Sixth Sense. We watched that a while back.
Yeah.
And I remember going like, okay, this is still pretty good.
Yeah, still pretty good.
The twist, knowing the twist, did kind of hamper it for me.
It does. The twist is so good.
Yes.
That
once I've seen it, it kind of did.
It almost makes the movie, right?
There are parts. There isn't enough for me though. There are movies of his where I like the twist better, and we'll talk about them here in a second probably. And I like going back and rewatching it to catch the little clues. I'm not as big into that in The Sixth Sense. In fact, I find it it's a little bit too, his movies can be very patient, a little too patient sometimes for me. So The Sixth Sense doesn't hold up for me. The thing, I'm picking The Happening here is what I'm getting to. Because if you told me like right now, like if you were like, hey, do you want to go watch The Sixth Sense right now upstairs? I'd be like, no, let's keep recording this. But if you stop the podcast and go, you want to go watch The Happening right now? I go, fuck, let's go do this right now. Let's do this. This is the whole reason I came over.
I'm so proud of you.
I've been waiting for this moment.
I'm so proud of you.
I think The Happening is just an endlessly entertaining movie. Yeah. Whereas I think The Sixth Sense can be a little dry. And there are movies of his that can be dry that I like a little more. But I have got The Happening moving.
Excellent. Well, hey, to be fair, you're due like one drunk night before the baby comes, right?
Yeah, I think
like
so.
One.
Yeah.
Between now and then,
yeah,
I'd say you do. Then what we need to do is watch The Happening.
Watch The Happening. Yeah.
It'll be like a low key drunk night.
I think this is the first time I've had it. I think this may be the first time in a movie bracket. I'm throwing out. We've done some soundtrack brackets where this may have happened.
Where an 8-1
or where a number one seed has gone out early in the first round. So there you go.
Wow.
But
what a beautiful.
I wasn't
choice.
doing it just to do that. Let's stay on this side though. We're gonna do the number 4 seed next, and that is Signs at a 6.8. A widowed former reverend living with his children and brother on a Pennsylvania farm finds mysterious crop circles in their fields, which suggests something more frightening to come. Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, and Rory Culkin. Against the number 5 seed with a 6.6, The Village. This is the IMDb synopsis. This is I would have written a little more, I think. A series of events test the belief of a small, isolated countryside village. The end. Sigourney Weaver, who I forgot was in this movie. Bill Hurt. Joaquin Phoenix, Bryce Dallas Howard, and one Mr. Adrian Brody.
Indeed, Adrian Brody. Yeah.
Who do you have in this match? A very religious matchup, if you.
Indeed.
Yes. About faith.
Yeah, the dangers of faith,
the dangers,
or the
importance of it.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. It's Signs. I think Signs gets a lot of shit for the water thing. He's days.
Very defensive about this too.
And I guess for me, like, maybe it's dumb. I don't know, but
isn't there a theory too? And I think he may have even backed this up in an interview that it's because of what it's kind of holy water too.
Maybe.
Yeah. I've heard that theory thrown around too.
That's kind of cool. My big thing. Yeah, I don't know.
So the issue people have is like the
how
aliens,
do these dipshits come to Earth, which is what
75% water,
and they were like, let's go to that planet and take over
where it rains,
and like, oh fuck, we're gonna die.
Yeah,
I mean it's a little dumb.
Right.
We don't know how advanced these guys are.
They could be big dummies.
They could be.
They could be very stupid. Thank you for bringing this up. They
didn't show up with laser guns, did they?
This is why Mars Attacks is great. It's because it's one of the only movies that asks, like, everybody's all scared, like the aliens are going to come, they're going to look at Earth and be like, look at these dummies, like look at these idiots, we're so much smarter than them. But like, what if the aliens are even dumber? They're just really good at inventing spaceships.
They just figured it out first.
Yes, what if they're morons?
Uh-huh. It's so sweet. Anyway,
because there are some really stupid people that just drive cars on Earth.
There's stupid people that fly planes.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't for sure tell you that every astronaut is that book smart, sure, but a couple of them are probably dummies. Anyway.
Well, we shot monkeys into space before, right?
Yeah. Dogs.
They're dummies. Yeah, dogs have gone up, and dogs are dumb.
I've met some dumb dogs. All right. Fuck. I'm losing it now. Anyway, science. So I get some shit for that, but the thing is, the movie, the relationship of the family and the performances and Mel Gibson's character's kind of crisis of faith throughout the movie, which is definitely a Mel Gibson staple.
Right. He's really good at that, though, Gibson. That's another one.
He's phenomenal in it.
Yeah, that's another performance.
He's not always.
Yeah, especially now. He was always pretty solid though back then.
He's brought it for a lot longer than
right.
Bruce and Sam did, but But speaking of Bruce, sorry to hear about
his
dementia thing. That's sad. Yeah, that sucks.
You could see it coming, and that
sucks.
It does. Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll talk about him a little bit more later because he's got
for sure.
He's got some really good.
It carries me through so much that by the time you reach the end, there's such an emotional release, and it's so cathartic, and it's so. The movie just feels so hopeful at the end, and so full of life, and just I don't know. It's just so uplifting.
Right.
But not corny uplifting. It's just kind of an uplifting ending. That I don't really care that the aliens get beat by water. I don't. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, and there's an earnestness to it too.
Yeah, there is.
And it believes what it's saying, and I
for sure.
Yeah, I kind of yeah.
For sure. The Village is a movie I remember very little of, if I'm being completely honest. I remember that being another movie that got a lot of shit for the twist. That one certainly more deservedly so, I think. I can understand why people didn't like the twist. I didn't actually mind that. The problem I have with the movie is it's fucking boring.
It can be a little bit, yeah.
There's at no point during that movie was I interested or attached or invested in any of the characters or events that were going on. I was just kind of all right. I was kind of let's get to the twist. Because there's going to be one.
Yeah.
So, and that was the beginning. Village was the beginning of people starting to see the cracks in the armor on M. Night, I think, if I remember right. That was the first movie where people started to go,
So his signs had come out, and so I'm going to build on this real quick, because 2004, it was when this one came out, was when The Village came out, and this is very much when the backlash really kicked in.
Yes.
And it had been building since The Sixth Sense, honestly, because Unbreakable had a little bit of that, Signs had a little bit of that, and then this, though, is where it really kicked in, both for the twist, and do you remember the faux documentary that was put out called, what was it, M. Night, Man of Shadows or some...
I watched the entire thing.
The Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan.
I watched the entire thing with Nick and Tony Blauvelt.
Yeah.
And we laughed so hard the whole time. Because the whole thing was that M. Night was telling you the 3 movies I made so far are based on my life.
Because remember, the documentary played it up like he had been touched by some sort of supernatural spirit.
Some sort of angelic being or something.
That had gifted him with
stories.
And it plays it up like it's a real thing. It's kind of... He had not mastered comedy like he would later on with The Happening.
Right.
Because I do think some of it's played pretty tongue-in-cheek. But
I remember
you
not
can't
knowing.
Tell. That's the thing, is you can't tell.
I remember thinking, this guy might be so full of himself that...
Right.
This is... Yeah, I don't know.
So that came out this year, and then on top of it, The Village, and I think this was around the time people were just I'm done.
You need to go away now.
We're done with you. Because then because they shit out of it, and then he made Lady in the Water, and Lady in the Water is about a critic, right?
Yeah.
A critic being haunted.
Yeah.
So that's not going to endear him to critics. And then he made After Earth, or I think even The Happening was after that, and then it just all went off the rails.
Yep.
So The Village, I kind of remember liking it, but yeah, it was in the middle of the whole backlash and everything. I remember liking it. I'm with you. It's a little slow. It's kind of boring. I kind of liked the twist though. And I do like when he plays with kind of faith and religion. I just think Signs he does is way more effective. And
yes.
I really, really, I want to watch Signs again, because as I was going through refreshing my brain on it, I'm like, I think I really like this movie. And I'm with you. The 75, like we said, the water thing.
It might be silly. I mean, I just don't think about it that much.
I don't either. It's
it's
a parable.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a science fiction.
And it feels very old timey science fiction alien invasion, doesn't it? That's how you.
Yes.
You'd always defeat the aliens with some sort of like silly means, right?
Silly means, and honestly, it feels like a religious parable. Like it,
sure,
that's what
absolutely.
the movie is. And so sometimes those aren't overcomplicated, but they're not. They shouldn't be. They're straightforward stories.
Yeah.
So
it also has one of the great scares ever. Period.
Yeah.
Like all time.
Yes.
I remember seeing this. I saw Signs in theaters, and like that theater was like freaked out.
My mom made us take that video, like that. I think it was a VHS we rented it on. She made us take it back that night because she didn't want it in the house. She was so creeped out by the alien, the camera, like the birthday party where the alien goes in front of
freaky.
it. It's awesome. Like it's a great moment, and
Very
it's
good.
like it sticks with me. I got chills because I was like, freaked out. But it was like even when I was a kid, it was one of those things where like I was almost like, I don't want to say inspired, but like it was like the good kind of chills where I was like, whoa, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was like alive after that. Yeah.
Yes. But it also has a great scene where it's kind of like the Jurassic Park style scene where he cuts off the fingers. And
it's so sweet.
That I think is his tensest movie. I think Signs is his best use of tension. I think he is in some ways is kind of mastered it at that point. I think Signs is very good, and I would really like to revisit it. So yeah,
I want to rewatch it too. It's been a while.
We've both got Signs moving on, right?
Yes.
Do you want to finish out this side of the bracket? Or you want to move to the other side?
Let's close out this one so we can get a finalist on this side.
Okay.
That's fine with me. We've talked about all these at this point, so let's go ahead and
So I've got Signs in The Happening. You have Signs in The Sixth Sense.
Yes.
You go first because yours is more interesting, I think.
For me, it's Signs.
Okay.
I think Signs is... I like The Sixth Sense, but I do think The Sixth Sense, like I said before, is a movie that like very heavily relies, I should say, on the strength of that twist at the end. And boy, it was a whopper when I first... Like, it was nuts. I remember seeing that and just going like, oh my God, like I can't believe, how is this possible that this is what I've been watching the whole time? I mean, it was really, really strong stuff, but on repeat viewings, it doesn't quite, you don't have that anymore. The performances are still strong and stuff, but it just, Signs, I just think Signs is, for me, that's like, Signs is M. Night at his strongest point in his career. Even after the resurgence that he's had, post, Airbender and After Earth and stuff, Signs is him kind of at his peak in terms of creativity, and I just think it's a really strong movie. Water be damned, it's a really strong movie, and it's you mentioned earlier the whole like Sixth Sense versus The Happening, like. What would you want to watch right now? Signs would be would probably beat most of these in that case. So, yeah, Signs for me.
So I have Signs in The Happening. Two very different movies.
Yeah,
in some ways.
Yeah.
But also, like we've mentioned, they're kind of They're very Twilight Zone inspired.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, for sure.
But we are getting to the same destination. We're just taking different routes.
Yeah.
I have got Signs as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a better movie than The Sixth Sense as well. I think The Sixth Sense, he really likes, Sixth Sense reminds me of E.T. a little bit. In the early Spielberg, where
it's got that Amblin it's kind of vibe, a little scarier maybe than some of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's about how how something affects the people around it more than the person. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and then E.T. is not like Signs at all. He's got
very different
movies.
Anyway, very different outcomes.
So the thing with the Heavies, I think it's a blast. But I legitimately really, really like Signs.
Like one of these is a good movie.
One of these is a good movie.
And the other one is
the other one I can't.
A good movie.
And the other thing too is I think he does comedy. I kind of think so. Yeah, it's weird to say because I kind of think The Visit he does comedy better.
The Visit's kind of funny.
The Visit's it's a funny movie.
Yeah.
The Happening is. I'm with you. I don't know. I don't know what but that's kind of its charm. So, The Happening is like probably my spoiler alert, probably my third favorite M. Night movie. Now that I think about it. So anyway,
My man.
Long story short, yeah, Signs. It's my favorite movie in this half of the bracket. All right, let's move over to the other side, shall we?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna do 2 versus 7 here. Let me get those pulled up. Number 2 is Unbreakable.
Okay.
7.3. A man learns something extraordinary about himself after a devastating accident. This is Bruce Willis, Sam Jackson, and Robin Wright, who I believe was a Robin Wright pen at the time.
Yes.
I think so. Don't get mad at me, Robin.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Number 7, The Visit, with a 6.2. 2 siblings become increasingly frightened by their grandparents' disturbing behavior while visiting them on vacation. Starring Olivia DeLong, Ed Oxenbould, I think is Deanna Duggan, and then Catherine Hahn is in it as well.
Yes. The Visit is pre-split, correct?
The Visit was kind of his back to basics movie after Airbender and the 1-2 punch of Airbender after Earth.
Okay, so it was Visit and then Split.
Yep.
Okay.
Because my story with The Visit, I couldn't
remember.
And I think I can't. You might be the same way. Because I remember I'd given up on M. Night at the time, and I saw a new movie coming out. I remember I rolled my eyes, and then I can't remember if you said something, if you saw it before me, or if I was listening to a podcast and they're like, "This is actually pretty good."
I don't remember if I.
Okay, but
it's possible. You know what? One of us mentioned it to the other person.
Enough,
I'm sure.
Yeah, enough people whose opinion I respected said like, "This is back to what we want from him."
Right.
It's kind of a back to basics movie. It's a found footage movie, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more of what they like, the kind of smaller, more character based, like intimate kind of horror story.
Yes.
That we like from him, and it's kind of like the kid performances are mostly good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
But
I think they're good when they're supposed to be, and I think they're kind of goofy when they're...
So this was supposed to be his... This has the naked grandma in it, too, right?
It does have a naked grandma in it, yeah. One of the great naked grandma films.
Does Rabbit Grannies have a naked grandma in it?
I don't remember if it has a naked grandma. It's a rabbit grandma.
It's multiple.
It does?
Yeah.
It does. Okay, yeah, so...
The Visit versus Unbreakable. Who you got?
It's Unbreakable. But once again, I want to talk about The Visit briefly because that one's not moving forward. So, The Visits, I remember seeing. I saw the trailer for it, not knowing it was an M. Night deal until the end of the trailer. By the end of the trailer, I was like, oh. And I remember like watching the trailer and going like, oh, this looks kind of sweet. And then like at the end, be like, it's M. Night. And then
that was a reaction for a little bit, for people for a while there.
This isn't going to be good.
And I think it still is for a lot of people.
Yeah, probably. We might be trending toward that direction. Who knows? I don't know. But for whatever reason, I did check it out. I can't remember exactly why, and I was pleasantly surprised. That was a lot of fun. It's got a great twist that is not a twist that the entire movie hinges on, which is very nice. For once, it's got the M. Night twist. You got to have the M. Night twist, I feel like. That's just part of his bread and butter.
Yep.
But it's not the movie and your enjoyment of the movie up to the point of the twist and after watching the movie and upon a rewatch is not dependent on that twist. It isn't. But when you're watching it for the first time, you're like, oh, shit, like, this is crazy. It was, I remember like my jaw being a little bit opened up by that one. And like you said, the kid performances they're fun. I mean, there's some goofiness, but it's intentional, I think, and it's it makes for an interesting watch at times. There's some rapping. There's
I was gonna
something else.
Spoiler alert, this is not moving on, and it's because of the rap.
The rap at the end
rapping,
is like
it's horrible.
One of the most horrific things I've ever seen. Yeah, I can't believe it made the final cut of the movie, but it's also kind of great because it feels a little bit of happening in there, like the weirdness.
He's a nice little callback for us happening fans.
Yeah, exactly, for us real ones. I didn't move the happening on, so I guess I'm not a real one. But Unbreakable is the better movie for sure for me. So it's Unbreakable. Moving on, I do enjoy The Visit quite a bit, and for those who haven't seen it, and I think there's still a lot of people that probably haven't seen this. I feel like this one kind of got lost in the shuffle because
honestly, I forgot about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit because now that M. Night's had a bit of a resurgence, for the most part, I think that one's kind of right in the middle of those two, so it kind of gets forgotten about. So check it out. Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I've got Unbreakable moving on here as well. The Visit is a movie though that it was a pleasant surprise because even when I had heard all those people, I was still a bit skeptical, and then I watched it and I went, "This is pretty good. That kid's got to stop rapping." I don't know. I don't know what that was all about. I recall Catherine Hahn being quite funny in this movie. There are moments of humor. I think it's like I said. I think the humor in it is intentional and it works mostly.
Yeah.
Whereas, like we said, like this is his effective comedy. This is the comedy that he meant to make. This is the horror comedy that he meant to make. The found footage was weird, like a weird choice to me, but I get it. Yeah.
And it's not overly obnoxious,
right?
And sometimes I'm annoyed by certain found footage things. So,
but yeah, it's a solid movie that I think gets overshadowed by the next movie he would make, which was Split, because that was the bigger of the two movies. That's kind of when M. Night was like, he was like back for. Yeah,
because it wound up kind of being two movies back to back where it was like, all right, like we might be.
Yep, we're cooking now.
Yeah.
So, but I've got Unbreakable, and we'll talk a little bit about Unbreakable.
Okay.
There. So
for sure.
All right, final side of this, we have number 3 seed with a 7.3. Split. 3 girls are kidnapped by a man with a diagnosed 23 distinct personalities. They must try to escape before the apparent emergence of a frightful new 24th versus, and now this side of the bracket is very heavy. 3 out of the 4 movies are all related because number 6 is Glass with a 6.6. Security guard David Dunn uses his supernatural abilities to track Kevin Wendell Crumb, a disturbed man who has 24 personalities. So, James McAvoy, Bruce Willis, and Sam Jackson star in this one. So, I guess I'll put a spoiler warning at the top because if you don't know the spoilers for these movies, bless your heart. But like this is Split led to Glass.
Yeah.
Which Split ended up being a kind of stealth sequel to Unbreakable.
I had no idea going to that movie.
That was awesome, wasn't it? Do you remember how sweet that was?
I was like, holy shit.
I think did I see it before you or did someone see it before you? And we're like, I kind of want to say Nick saw it. Or maybe I can't remember.
I saw it and texted you.
Yeah, and then we like.
Because I remember I was like, Tim.
This was like a word of mouth thing with our group. Because
Buddy.
I remember we texted. I think we texted Nick. Too.
I texted somebody. Yeah. I remember because I was like,
"You've got to see this one.
Please see it as soon as possible."
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Because I did see this in theaters.
Yeah. Me too. We might have seen it together, actually. We might have texted
that feels
Nick.
right.
I can't remember.
And I feel like we texted Nick because of the ending.
Go.
Because of the ending. Because we know.
Hurry.
Anyway, yes. Split or Glass? Who you got?
It's Split. I know, like this is another one that kind of has retroactively gotten some shit because of its depiction of
dissociative
identity disorder, which I get it. This is very, very clearly a heightened, fictionalized world, and it's made very apparent by the end of the film that it exists within a universe that is part of a superhero kind. So that doesn't bother me as much. If it offends people, I'm not going to tell you not to be offended. It is what it is if you are. But for me, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't have an issue with that heightened sense of that. I think that McAvoy, I always liked McAvoy and stuff before this movie, but he always felt kind of like the bland leading man to me in a lot of stuff. Where I was just like, he's a good actor, but like he's never done anything all that interesting in my like he's always there and he does a good job and I like him on screen, but this movie I was like, oh shit.
He gets a lot to do in this.
Oh yeah, and he crushes all of it.
Right.
Like
and
it's a scary movie. It's tense. It's continues the trend of Anya Taylor-Joy being awesome and being like the cool, like the scream queen of this generation of movies. Like even if she didn't intend to, it's happened. It just rules. And then you throw that ending on at the end, and it's like it was like it left you walking out of the theater going like, oh my god, like M. Night, you did it. Glass.
I can't remember if we talked about Glass on this.
I can't either.
Podcast.
I've seen Glass once.
Okay.
and I don't feel any sort of need to see it again.
Okay.
I didn't hate it like a lot of people did, but I get why they did, and I didn't like it all that much either. So to me, it just felt like it felt so, and I understand that like the M. Night's superhero universe that he sets up in Unbreakable and continues throughout the course of this is a much more grounded, more what would these people be like in real life vision of that. That's fine, I get that. But this movie is like three characters that I find interesting and fascinating, basically spending the entire movie on a bunch of sets dressed up to be like hospital rooms, and then the last 20 minutes is just people running around in a field in front of a building getting killed.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the best part of the happening just popped in my head when the lion rips off that guy's arm.
It's so sick.
Sorry, anyway, back to Glass.
Leguizamo kills himself with a pair of scissors too, I think.
Yeah, and then someone lays down in front of a lawnmower.
It's so sweet.
Sorry, for some reason, like that popped in my head while you're talking about
No,
Glass.
that's fine. There's a deflating quality about Glass that I don't know.
So
I don't hate the movie. I actually think it I see what he's trying to do there, and it for me it's fine. It closes things off well enough, I suppose, but it just the ending is such a bummer. Like, even though it's, I don't know, it left me feeling a little bit hollow at the end, and I don't think I'm ever going to change my opinion on that.
Right.
You know, and I'm a big Unbreakable fan, and the events of Glass feel very, I don't know, they're a bummer.
So, yeah, Glass. Okay.
Yeah.
Which one? Who you got?
It's split for me.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, obviously. I like Glass.
Yeah.
I think 6.6 is a good score for it.
That's a
IMDb.
fair score.
I think that's a nice score for it, actually. The thing with Glass that it is working against it are 20 years of expectations by people who like kind of fell in love with Unbreakable.
Yeah.
I think that works against it. I think, like you said, he's trying to. It's tough because he's in his own universe. He's doing this big crossover movie between two films, three characters, two films.
Yeah,
he's doing this big crossover movie, and yet he's trying to keep it grounded. He's trying to keep it character focused a lot of the time, and he's talking a lot about a lot of interesting stuff in it.
No, and I appreciate that he's doing the character focused. Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't mesh well with the grander idea.
The building to the...
And then you get to what you want to get to. Like, in some ways, it's everything I always wanted in an Unbreakable sequel. But in some ways, like, you get to the big thing at the end, and then you realize, like, and you kind of forget, like, M. Night's not a very good action director.
No.
Like, he's not good at this kind of stuff. And then, so the third act just it's kind of like a big...
Yeah, and we said spoilers are on the table.
Yes.
The decision to kill David Dunn is fine with me.
Right.
How it's handled is like kind of...
refresh my memory on that.
Some dudes in... Some like SWAT team guys just hold his head under a puddle of water and
That's
drowns.
right, yeah.
It's like really mean.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool with the character dying. I'm cool with him going out, like fighting or doing whatever he's doing. But like the ending, like it's like super mean.
And I see
like while his son watches, it's like,
and it's another thing where like I see
know.
where what he's going for there.
Yeah,
and I respect the idea.
I get what he was doing. Yeah,
I just
doesn't make it any more palatable.
Yeah, I don't really like it either, and it doesn't. It just doesn't fit for me. It doesn't work for me. I feel like Glass. Like I almost feel like Split is a movie that he had in his head since Unbreakable. And like he had time to kind of polish it up and get it ready, and then all of a sudden with Glass, he's like, "Oh shit! Like I gotta make this movie now." And he did it in a couple of years, and it came out of the oven a little early.
I agree.
Yeah,
I feel like there's yeah. I agree.
So anyway, I do like Glass, but I've got Split moving on as well.
Yep.
So we've both got Split versus Unbreakable, two related movies. Who you got in this one?
Unbreakable. For me, it's I for me personally, this is probably gonna give away where I'm headed here, and it is what it is. I think Unbreakable is like a perfect movie. I love Unbreakable. I think it's one of, if not Willis's best performances. He's like so good in it. The score is one of my favorite film scores of all time. Like the themes and stuff are absolutely beautiful. It is such a cool spin on the superhero story, and more than that, it's such a cool way to celebrate both celebrate and also like warn people about what this idolship can lead to. It's celebrating the beauty of the idea of the superhero and the idea of what somebody can be. And you see that in Willis's character, but it's also a bit of a warning against like what that hero worship can do to somebody. Right. And I have I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like to live with Sam Jackson's illness, and I don't remember the name of it, and I apologize. I've always heard it referred to as brittle bone, I think. Yeah. I don't know if that's okay or PC, and I apologize if it's not, but that's what but as a severe hemophiliac, I can tell you that legitimately my love of comic books and superheroes started in a hospital bed. And that pretty much is what happens to that character. So I immediately connected with for me, I was emotionally invested because I felt like I could relate to the Glass character in the movie. And then you find out that he is the villain, and you go, oh no. But that blew me away even more because because I still felt sympathy for him and I understood him, but I hated him too because he was just an awful person. So I don't know. It's funny. I talk about Unbreakable and I get a little bit emotional. I get a little bit because it's just a special movie to me. It's not even in my top 10 of all time, but it's just it's one of those movies that just, for whatever reason, it hits all the notes for me. So it's Unbreakable. Split's great, but
yeah, I have Unbreakable too, and my reasoning is, so Split is, like you mentioned, Split has some good performances, but it's dominated by McAvoy. And he carries the movie and he does a fantastic job. And it's also, I think it's one of my favorite movies of his because it's a little bit peppier too than a lot of his stuff. It doesn't, I put it earlier, it's not as patient as some of his other movies.
There's a hipness to that movie. There's a little, it feels like a younger director.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, for sure. Yeah. And I think some of that, because he'd started working with Blumhouse at the time, I think some of that comes with that. I think some of it, he needs to be kind of reined in at times and work within the confines of something like a Blumhouse is probably a good fit for him because it is mid-budget stuff, smaller to mid-budget stuff, and that kind of focuses him, I think, a lot of the time. Yeah. But the ending of Split works, and that twist when you see Bruce Willis again is incredible.
It's really sweet.
But it wouldn't work if Unbreakable wasn't so amazing. So I've got Unbreakable moving on too. Yeah. And I think we both have Unbreakable versus Signs.
Versus Signs, yes.
Right. And I think I know where you're going.
It's Unbreakable for me, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about Unbreakable some more. You guys just heard what I had to say about it. I think it's a perfect movie. I think it's if you've never seen it, please see it. It's not a horror film. It's got some horror elements to it. There's some freaky stuff in Unbreakable, but particularly the character that Bruce Willis is kind of hunting / trying to find, the one that's killing families and stuff.
Yeah, and that is a great scene.
It's
when
their fight scene is
that is
the music is swelling.
That scene's amazing.
Oh my god, it's pouring rain. The whole thing rules.
Yeah.
When he gets thrown out the window and he falls in the pool or whatever, and he gets up and comes back in the house and fucks that dude up.
Yep,
it's so good. I'm swearing a lot on this episode. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we both are. I got the Mountain Dew Pitch Black running through me right now.
Yeah, mine is my banquets. But yeah. Anyway, but no, yeah, it's Unbreakable for me. Yep.
Yeah, so I've got Unbreakable as well, and I'm going to talk a little bit about. So here's my journey with Unbreakable.
Yeah, you have a bit of a different one, right?
So put yourself back to when that movie came out, because it came out
2002,
2000.
2000.
I want to say it was either before or after that first X-Men? I think maybe like a month or two after that first X-Men.
It was certainly before the superhero movies started to have a bit of an upswing.
It was right before then. So we were kind of... This is going to sound odd to maybe some Gen Z listeners of ours, but we were very starved.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yep.
Because we had Blade, but before that we had like the Batman and Robin and like Spawn.
Yeah, the
stuff
superhero
like
stuff, if you look at the timeline, like if you weren't around at this point in time, we're not shaming you for that, you didn't exist. But like go back and look at like a list of superhero movies and like see where we were at, and you can go, wow, this is...
Like, we would get excited when, like, Kevin Smith movies like Mallrats would mention, like, comic books. And it was just like, yes!
Yeah.
Yeah, Superman would blow a hole in Lois Lane.
It was rough.
Yeah. So we would get excited by stuff like that. But also in the comics, like, this was around the time I would have found out. In, like, started 80s and 90s, there was a lot of interesting indie comics, even a lot of interesting superhero comics that took superheroes seriously. You've got stuff
grounded
like grounded them. You've got stuff like
word,
like the Dark Knight Returns, stuff like that is what I'm kind of referring to there.
Yeah.
So you had stuff that took it seriously, and for superhero movie fans, it was tough because Batman and Robin did not take Batman seriously.
No, it was very much a return to the
Adam
West stuff. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it felt like the genre, the subgenre, whatever you want to call it, that we loved was not being respected by Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this movie that, honestly, I don't recall it making a ton of money, but you get this movie. Like, I remember I sat down and watched this with my dad, and he's like, that was really good, like a good superhero movie. My dad was not a big superhero guy, but I sat down and watched it, and like, I was so excited that something like this could take the idea of a superhero, ground it, but also like respect it. And like you mentioned, respect the idea and what works about superheroes and what's great about them. And also tell an origin story of a villain at the same time that is what we love, what comic book superhero fans love about a lot of the villains, like a Magneto.
All the great villains should have some element of sympathy.
And honestly, that first X-Men does it too.
It does, yes.
And honestly, the first X-Men takes the idea of the X-Men very seriously.
And the first Blade, of course.
Yes.
With, Deacon Frost.
Yes.
Very sympathetic.
But yes, he is. He has to put sunscreen on.
It's sad.
I hate putting sunscreen on.
It's the worst. It's gross.
So, anyway, but like, I remember watching it and just being so happy and like so excited, and it got me like excited about comics and back into superhero around the time. And then that first Spider-Man movie came out like the next year, and I was just fully back out.
Oh, it blew
for the rest of my life. Like, since then, like, I've just I've given up. But
this is part of me now. Yeah.
But then all of a sudden we get into the big superhero boom of like the 2000s. Like, you get stuff like the Dark Knight and Spider-Man 2, and then into the MCU stuff, and you start getting everything you ever wanted as a superhero fan, and you think it's great. And then I went back, I remember around that time, like I think probably when the first Avengers came out, I went back and watched Unbreakable, and I remember thinking, like, this is kind of boring. I remember being kind of like bored by it, and maybe it was because I knew the beats and I knew everything went down, and I'm like, this is kind of dull.
It's kind of a dour movie.
It is. And around that time, I was like really into stuff like Avengers and all the fun MCU stuff that we were getting at the time. That was like what I had always wanted to see on screen. Like, now we were finally getting the big team up movies. Now we were getting a
celebration of superheroes. And that's what that first Avengers movie, if nothing else, if you like it or you don't like it, it's a celebration of what those comic books are.
Yes.
It's like colorful costumes and just bombastic and just
it
feels like a comic book come to life.
The big event team movie that I always wanted to see on screen. So then I remember thinking, like, Unbreakable's gonna be right.
What a drag.
And then I think it was a couple years ago when Glass, right after Split, I revisited it again. And now we were into getting closer to the current superhero movies, where we've had so many of them, and you do feel kind of exhausted at times. And then you have stuff like, what was the Portals one, the Endgame one, which I quite liked, but like, now I've gotten everything I've ever wanted, and like way more than I ever wanted.
Now I'm like,
hey, it's like, in some ways it is like the 90s in comics, and like, hey, does this thing even exist? I didn't even know this thing was a thing. Like, we're getting that now. And I revisited Unbreakable. I'm like, holy crap, this is refreshing. Like, man, this is like, maybe this is what I've like always wanted. But I remember, and I was blown away. And honestly, the thing that really, it's the stuff with Glass, it's the stuff with his mom.
Oh my God,
his mom is so good at this, in Unbreakable. And honestly, Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis, we've given them I've given them some guff at times too on this podcast, and I know a lot of.
They would probably agree.
You can tell when they have been in it for the money, but man, when those two guys are on, and they are motivated, and they have worked with the director who they respect, and who can work with them. They are seriously two of my favorite actors.
They're unbelievable.
They're magnetic. Like Sam Jackson, when he's in certain movies, is just incredible. And I think this is honestly one of his best performances. I think he's flat out incredible in this too. And I think Willis is really, really good. He's right up there with him. It's two great performances.
Yeah, I think that both. I think you're right. Both performances in this film are certainly in consideration for their top, all time.
Yeah.
And I think this might be my favorite Jackson performance, because it's not. There's a lot of great Sam Jackson performances out there. A lot of this Tarantino stuff I think about right away. But his Tarantino stuff, it's phenomenal, but it's also over the top and it's very Tarantino and very elevated.
What's your favorite Sam Jackson Tarantino performance?
Django.
That's the one that pops up.
He's so good in Django. But he's insane.
Right.
I mean, he's a cartoon but that's with good reason.
Right.
But God, in Unbreakable and in Glass, to be fair, he's
good in Glass too. I don't.
Yeah. He's so good.
He's not an issue in Glass. No.
No, actually, none of the performances in Glass are an issue. Yeah, including Willis. I think he does very good work in that as well. But
we've talked about Willis as when he's around, he's got to be around, especially in his later career. You could tell he wants to work with guys like directors he respects.
Absolutely.
Yep. Or who have a strong voice and can. Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. So anyway, yeah, it's Unbreakable. I did not think that we were going to wind up on the same movie.
We ended up having pretty much the same bracket except for The Happening.
I did not think that was going to be the case, but I'm happy. I mean, I think it's a deserving film.
Yeah, Unbreakable and Signs I think are my two favorite of his.
Mine too.
Yep.
Yep. Mine too. And then I think Split would be right behind Signs for me.
Yeah. I would. I might put The Happening, but that's all depends on.
The Happening is in its own M. Night tier. I have a tier system.
Yes. Some people say they've shed many tears.
Indeed.
Watching M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Indeed. That was fun. Good.
All right, so let's save the. We're gonna do. So here's the plan. I think.
Yes.
We're gonna record a Tiny Terror right about now.
Mm.
You can check that out on our Patreon, patreon.com/MidwestPodNet, or if you just want to kick us a couple bucks, we would appreciate it.
Yeah,
we always appreciate the support. We appreciate the support of just listening. So thank you for that. But we're gonna record that. We're gonna do a little bit of what we've been watching, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about. We're gonna make our final. We're gonna lock in our picks for Scream, who the killer is gonna be. So
our final pick. So yes, we're gonna knock it out. We're gonna make sure that well before the movie comes out.
Yep.
Just in case, who knows, we could bump into a spoiler between now and movie release,
because they're
out there.
Yep.
Yeah. Be aware. By the way,
Yeah.
if you don't want to be I don't know anything about it at Scout's Honor. I know nothing about whatever was. All I know is there's legitimate footage of the movie out there with a watermark on it that got released.
Okay.
Which sucks for the people that worked on the movie. What a bummer.
Yeah, and I saw. God, doesn't this harken back to Scream, the old Screams, the internet with the old Screams,
right.
the fake scripts and everything.
Yeah, if you're smart, or if you're smart, if you're avoiding spoilers, I would mute. I don't even know how to do it. I just don't go on Twitter for now.
Yeah.
From now until release.
Yeah.
But apparently you can mute topics and stuff. So figure that out.
Do that. So we're gonna that'll be out on our Patreon. It will be out right now if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
This right away, but also it'll be on our free feed next week. Then we're gonna take a week off, prepare ourselves.
Yes.
You could go back and listen to our Scream retrospective and our Scream
Tim
5.
cut together a really cool
a master
cast.
Yeah. So check that out. I may even repost that in the feed that week when we're off.
Yeah.
And then the plan is to hopefully watch Scream and then record on it right after. We'll have an episode out shortly after we see it.
It'd be cool to do it. We're thinking probably the day after if we can do it, or a day or two after. So it's fresh in our minds, and you can get our
our thoughts, all of our thoughts.
Yeah.
And then, I think we're going to, just a heads up, we are probably going to take a little bit of a break because I will be...
Tim's going to be a daddy.
I will be very busy. But I don't have an idea of how long it will be, so just be on the lookout. But we will keep everybody updated. But I think we're going to be building to Scream 6 as the kind of like the big blow off.
Before the break.
Paternity leave spectacular.
And if we can figure out a way to make it work, we might be able to have Nikki and I record some shorter stuff.
Oh, for sure.
While you're gone.
For sure.
Just so we can keep some content coming out. We'll talk about, you and I will talk about that offline and figure out.
I forgot she mentioned that. Yeah.
It might even be a situation of her and I record it and I bring the SD card to you and...
Hey, see what Alex is up to.
Yeah, that's true. I could always bring it to the founder. Or you could just teach me how to do it.
I'll tell you, because maybe you could record, you could just record and do like topics and then break it up.
We'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. But Willie and I will probably take a break for a little bit and then, so just be on the lookout. But we'll be back in a couple weeks. So, all right, everybody, stay safe out there.